Excellent. Hello and welcome everyone to yet another coffee chat with Moca Brands. I'm Mohamed Ezeldin and I'm joined today by Joseph from Pieverse and the main man Kenneth himself from Mocaverse. So today we're going to be diving in deeper around AI. What does it mean for an agent to have a wallet? But before we do that, maybe Kenneth, I'll start with you. Please tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you're building.
Yeah, hey everyone, thanks for having me. It's been a while since I was last active on Next. Actually, Moca Minds is something that we're very excited about and very happy to be here. I'm the CEO of Moca Network, been building startups and companies in tech for a while, and what we're building is around identity, payment, and loyalty. And we also have an agentic stack that actually enabling agents to act on behalf of users. So happy to be here and happy to speak to you again, Mo, and nice to meet you, Joseph, and things that we could all work together on.
I know, super excited today. I know it's you've not been on Twitter for a while, or X as it's called now, so great for you to make your comeback. I know it's late in Hong Kong, so super appreciate you being here with us. And Joseph, over to you. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what Pieverse is up to.
Hi, how are you guys? My name is Joseph. I actually joined the industry around 4 years ago. So I've been focusing on the blockchain infrastructure in Korea, and I have been building community in Korea as well. So a little bit about our company, Pieverse. Pieverse is basically an agentic AI where we operate on blockchain. And what we're trying to bring is that we're trying to provide people with more seamless experience when it comes to the A2A and agentic experiences. Right now, we can actually, create your own AI agents through Line, Kakao, and Telegram, WhatsApp. So if you ever feel like you would like to, create your own AI, just come over to Pieverse and, get the best experience out there. We wrap OpenClaw, Cloud, Hermes, or Codex, so we have the best skills out there. So please check it out.
That's quite a big statement. We have the best skills out there. I like that. Big balls from Korea with Joseph right there. So we're talking about AI agents that don't just talk, they act. For someone tuning in fresh, what does that actually mean for an AI agent to be persistent and autonomous? I don't know, maybe Joseph, if you want to go for that one first?
Yeah, so I actually been doing a lot of research around it due to the fact that, so there's a thing, AI can actually predict the future. That's the biggest issue out there for AI. So what we need to do is that we need to remove all the hallucination created by AI. So I actually met this one founder who's creating a very, unique type of thing for AI where sometimes AI can do, speculative things out there, but they limit the AI to do something more advanced. Instead, they try to make it more average, making sure that all the AIs goes into a line where they can actually execute their command instead of doing something that we do not expect. And that way you can actually control the AI into a frame where AI will not make mistakes anymore. And I think this is really important because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, they're not a intelligent being like we are. To be honest, human beings can predict a very small scale future. Like when you try to drink water, you understand the outcome. When you try to type something on computer, you understand the outcome. However, when it comes to AI, they don't really understand it. That's the reason why they keep causing this hallucination. At the same time, they're also causing this mistake. So I guess for AI, most important factor will be trying to provide them with a frame where they do not make mistakes. Well, I guess that would be the first step for the AI agents to actually to move to the next step.
Very interesting. I know hallucinations have been a big challenge. Maybe Kenneth, what are your thoughts? What makes an AI agent persistent?
I think there are a few things. I think a lot of the people actually try to build around AI or doing agentic coding and having agent to execute autonomously was actually really important. Obviously, the model plays a big role, but there's a lot more actually coming behind the scenes, such as harness and context management, memory management, execution, input-output contracts, and having deterministic scripts, right? Not everything has to be run by LLM, and how to decide what has to be run by scripts, what has to be run by LLM, and having deterministic contracts to actually control and validate output and input as well, and having a very good eval and a good way to basically tune different weights of the models for context memory management and execution and all that, because the reality is that the agent and LLM doesn't execute reliably all the time. And I think Minds is doing a good job on harnessing the model and the output. And there are a lot of things that people underestimate. And but I think we're very early in at this stage, and very great to see actually like great minds are building around it.
No, absolutely. I guess if like for the average person listening in, what we're saying is agents allow us to do work fundamentally, but as of now, because of hallucinations, because of memory, because of context windows, because of what the underlying LLM is that's being used, there's actually a lot of challenges as to those agents being consistent and persistent enough is sort of what I'm hearing. But there's loads of great projects out there like Minds and others. And I think, Joseph, you'd mentioned maybe Hermes and OpenClaw as well, which are really pushing forward on the agentic space. Now, Kenneth, you spoke about Moca Network, and that sits at a very interesting intersection between a digital identity layer, but also we know the need for humans to have identity. What's the need for an AI agent to have an identity? Like, is it something that's relevant? Is it important for us?
Yeah, so give it a little bit background. Moca Network has been working with very large user-based enterprises such as telcos, entertainment groups, ticketing platforms, loyalty apps, airlines, and these companies, right? And the problems that we have seen is coming from three different angles. One is compliance, right? And how do you enable data to be transferred and transacted and monetized in a compliant way? And also another thing is how do you make all the data verifiable and all the users verifiable? And doing all these basically with digital identity is not just for the human, right? And if we're thinking about in the world where in Yet's point of view, for example, one user would potentially have like 1,000 or even 10,000 agents. At the end of the day, these agents are acting on behalf of the user. How do you actually have the agent to basically simulate how a human interact with the internet without knowing who the users are and all the data that is basically be binded with the user? And it can come from very hard identification about the user, including your KYC, your passport, your information, but it also can come from your loyalty status when you have the agent to book flights for you. How does the airline website actually recognize that you're a premium member and get you privilege discounts or access or any kinds of interaction on the internet actually rely on data, not general data, but the data about the user. There's no safe way for agent to act on behalf of the user by giving the agent authority and make it verifiable that the agent can act and use and verify data on behalf of the user so that it can actually execute autonomously on top of the transaction layer. So Moca Network on identity, enabling and delegating to agents. We have a vertical called Air Money, basically enabling agent to transact, to pay and for agentic commerce, and also loyalty to basically delegate to agent when they actually transact to actually have a feedback loop and a reward loop for agent to basically reward agents as well for all those transactions acting on behalf of human.
So what you're fundamentally describing is a full stack reputation layer with accessibility for agents and for agents to lean in on that reputation, represent the human in end-to-end actions is what I'm gathering. And super fascinating insight. So you mentioned Yatsu as well. For those who don't know who Yatsu is, co-founder of Moca Brands, really a visionary. And one of his visions, and I think we've heard this a number of times, is that for every human, they'll have at least 10 agents, 100 agents, 1,000 agents. So I think definitely that need for reputation becomes super important as well. Joseph, any thoughts on your end on what Kenneth was saying?
I mean, I agree with Kenneth 100% due to the fact that when it comes to the AI agents, I think the infrastructure is something that is more crucial compared to the AI agent's capability itself. Because without the actual proper infrastructure, your agent won't be able to, properly do their task. They won't be able to deliver the things that you're meaning to do. So at the end of the day, you actually need to have some sort of foundation in order to actually to enhance your AI agents out there. Without that concrete foundation, regardless how strong your AI is, you'll just become something like OpenClaw, where you'll be vulnerable to hackings, you'll be vulnerable to different attacks out there. So you need to actually to have the frame. I keep saying the frame out there, but at the end of the day, you have to keep the AI in place for them to actually to work properly for you.
No, no, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, like with us at Minds, we see ourselves as building the operating system for agents, and really some of the agents we've put out is to showcase the power of what our agents can do. And security seems to be a big thing as a recurring theme so early on, and we've tried to take a very different approach from maybe the open clause and the Hermes by actually not having it open source, but taking that security in-house. And when I say in-house, it's relying on some of the pre-existing providers like your AWS, like your GCP, Google Cloud, and leaning on their inherent security features as well. Because for the majority of users out there, and I have my own OpenClaw, to set it up, it was not easy. And even then, there was a lot of FOMO on the timeline. I think something in Web3 we're very familiar with is FOMO. There was a lot of FOMO when it came to OpenClaw and the launch of OpenClaw. But another common theme is what the agents are actually doing. And with Minds, I think we've just released 2 new one-click Minds today. One is with superior trade. So this one's super fascinating. It will allow you to backtest trade, backtest ideas, formulate ideas. If it's a winning idea, we'll let you execute trades, and then your agent can actually control the trading over time as well. So that's one that I know the team's been working on behind the scenes. I can't wait to test it myself. So especially I know we had an activation recently with Moca Network, and for anyone who's been staking, but also anyone who has any Moca Proofs, they've been given free credits, or free cognition as we like to call them. So if you are just tuning in, please check out if you are eligible and visit hellominds.ai. But enough shilling from me. Joseph, back to you. On-chain execution, it sounds powerful, but it's also quite intimidating. Talk about gas fees, compliance has been mentioned before, complexity. How does Pieverse abstract all of that so agents can actually transact seamlessly?
So I think this is a very hard question. I think there's still many projects out there trying to create that seamless experience when it comes to AI agent. Because like you just mentioned, you're setting up a cloud, the open cloud is not easy. You actually have to buy the hardware. At the same time, you also need to put a lot of prompt to make sure that the AI will work as you're trying to create the frame or the space for him. So I think there's a very good metaphor when it comes to the AI agent. I think AI agent is something like a vehicle, like a car, like a Tesla. So in order for Tesla to operate in a proper way, one, it actually requires a good software, and at the same time, you also need a good concrete road out there, like highway. But without that highway, without the manufacturing companies, there won't be a Tesla. Even if there's one, then it will be a suitable vehicle for that environment, which means that you actually need to create the foundation. Like I mentioned, you have to work with a good network out there. That could be Moca Network, it could be just regular Ethereum chain, it could be BNB chain out there. You have to actually to be merging yourself to the network, making sure the AI agent understand the whole blockchain system, where the AI agent could move around seamlessly. And I understand the fact that AI agent is something intimidating to many people out there, because some people out there may not have experiences for engineering or any AI experiences. So that's the reason why Pieverse tried to make it really simple, where you can create your account and then create your own AI agent through like social accounts like Kakao, Line, or WhatsApp. So I'm not trying to show my projects out here, but the thing is, if you never use your own AI agent before, I think it will be a good chance for you to actually to use Pieverse, because once you create your account, then you could actually talk to the AI agent through your phone. So I understand the fact that this feature is already on cloud. You can also use on a Perplexity, but you have to pay them and stuff. So right now we're giving up some free credits out there, so you can definitely try it out. Then I truly believe that FOMO is important. You cannot miss out things such as how to use an AI. It's not even that hard. Once you try it, you understand the full scale of it. At the same time, you understand the capability and how much it can actually help you to do your work. Many Instagrams out there keep talking about AI is gonna take away your job. It's gonna create more layoffs. But to be honest, it's more about people getting laid off due to the fact that you don't know how to use it. As long as you are acquainted with AI, then you'll be the next human being that will be able to secure your job. At the same time, you'll be the one to actually to become the person that be able to increase a lot of things like businesses wise, your career wise.
Super fascinating. So you're saying if you don't want to be replaced by AI, you have to learn to use AI to stay ahead of the curve and to stay relevant, at least with the technological shift that we think is coming. Super fascinating.
100%.
Yeah. Sorry. Over to you, Joseph.
Yeah, so I guess that's the reason why people keep talking about seamless, because they'll be the one that makes sure that all the people can be onboarded. Like back in the days, my mom and my dad were they're the era where they're transitioning from the analog to the digital era, where many people doesn't understand how to use Google, like WhatsApp, all sort of different applications out there. But now you're born with it, you understand how to use it all at once. And the new generation will definitely be more suitable to actually to how to use AI. So I guess people just don't need to be afraid, and I don't think they need to like keep searching for how to like properly use AI. Instead, they could just just start using the AI in the day one, and then they'll eventually find out how to use it anyways. People are adaptive. We're strong.
Fair. People are adaptive. I mean, it's survival of the fittest, you can argue. Kenneth, we touched on this earlier, but Moca Proof just turned Moca credentials into access to LLM tokens on Mind. What does that signal to where this collab is headed? And it's something I'm super excited by as well. But
Yeah, so there are two ways to actually get the Animoca Minds tokens, right? Like one is by sticking the token, and another one is through Moca Proof by having a verifiable identity based on the data that the user actually owns and actually get access to it. And what that actually means is the identity data that the user owns, because we're able to, Animal Minds is able to verify the user behind it, and the data cannot be cheated because all the data are verifiable and can be verified in a composable and programmable way as well. So what that means is you can almost see that as like a verifiable customer segmentation in a way that the user cannot cheat about the data, and all the traffic is verifiable. We already see it actually in the advertising world, where you buy a lot of CPM, cost per impression, and there's a lot of bot traffic coming in, and you got a lot of users coming to your sites, but no one is converting and buying. And that is actually one very good example of why identity is going to be a very important primitive for the internet, and especially for agents. And I think the implications of the minds working with Moca Proof, and also we work with Pieverse on Moca Proof, is that you basically are able to make it verifiable in terms of what that so-called customer segmentation look like, and rewarding the right users. And you basically giving initial incentives to bring users on board, and at the end becoming power users. And Moca Minds is already the top three personal agent on Open Router now, right? So actually, the one of the trigger was also together with the distributing tokens and rewards to the right users, and the usage actually started accumulating in that way. And as we see Minds growing, which we are very confident that Animoca Minds would be growing over time, and tying it together with the Moca assets would actually trenching together, because like both assets are actually correlated in a way that basically the more usage that Minds would have, then basically the more usage on identity and data, and the more usage on the assets in the Moca ecosystem.
I think it's super fascinating, and I guess like, maybe taking a step back, the market right now isn't the hottest, at least when we think about Web3 and we think about tokens, but normally it's in bear markets where communities solidify and they come out stronger through the other side. So it's been great to see the collaboration, and especially activating so many of the Moca Proof and Mocaverse community into Minds. I definitely feel this is something scalable and can be offered to other NFT communities as well. So if you are someone who has a community or is part of a community and will want to give your community access to the latest agents, the latest Minds, again, please do reach out to Kenneth or myself. I think we have some very interesting conversations and interesting things we can do. But with that in mind, the question we used to hear a lot on the timeline, and we don't hear anymore, are NFTs dead? Sort of move away from AI for a moment, but I do think it's a relevant discussion.
Yeah,
I don't know,
I guess
you're both not, okay, go for it, Kenneth.
Yeah, so I don't think NFT is dead, right? Like we have been through multiple cycles of XYZ is dead, right? And Bitcoin is dead multiple times in the past many years, and at the end of the day, what actually matters is what were the actual use cases, and what are the attention that's going to bring it back to you. to NFT. And for every cycle is a different reason and different trigger. But at the end of the day, NFT is a technology, and how the technology is being used to realize a use case and a vision. As long as there's like a fundamental utility of such technology, there would always be usage and it will always come back. And NFT could be used by agents too. And we already see tokens as payment for agent, or basically like the best experience. It's not the best experience now, it's just because on the merchant acquirer right now, not everyone is accepting stablecoin. But you can imagine, like, for merchants to accept stablecoin without going through all the card network and merchant acquirer, and then giving a cut to those network, you can basically, for everyone to bypass that card network and actually saving like 2 to 3% of that cost, and you can basically rebate and reward your users accordingly. And basically, crypto rails and stablecoin rails are the best for agents. And in terms of speed and compatibility and interoperability, I don't see a reason why NFT couldn't be one of the asset class that actually would be used by agent as a medium currency. Maybe not as a medium currency, right? But it could be in a form of a derivative or like a bundle currency in a way.
I think fascinating, because you're right, NFT is a technology. Obviously, when NFTs started popping, we were associating them with PFPs mainly, sometimes in-game assets. But really, an NFT is a digital container. And then to your point, what can that be a proxy to, dependent on what we store inside that digital container? Joseph, same question to you. Are NFTs dead?
To be honest, I don't think so. Like, when it comes to like the characters out there or the airdrop forming, purpose NFT, those ones could be dead. But right now, even at this moment, there's a couple new NFTs are coming up, such as like Pokemon cards NFT. I think those are very relevant and important. Like, at the end of the day, you actually do need some sort of like identification, or to make sure that the product you own has it is the actual, real legit, product out there, instead of, getting the fake one. When it comes to those, kind of situation, I guess NFT is still relevant, and it just depends on the situation. Like, depends on the market, depends on what kind of era they're living in. In a vast future where, people are living inside a metaverse, then NFT will definitely something that will be, very relevant to our, regular basis. Like Kenneth mentioned that, it's all about the technology. It's not about like the hype. It's not about like people trying to use NFT to actually gain wealth. It's more about, where we can actually implement this and then use it wisely. And I guess right now, even at this moment, there's a couple like use cases are popping out, like the Pokemon card I just mentioned. And in the future, there are definitely going to be more. And in Korea, NFT is being used for the identification at the moment, where like in the COVID-19 situation, people use NFT as their identification to, showing that they are vaccinated. And that program has not vanished from 2019. So it's still ongoing at the moment. And many of the governments are also still using the blockchain NFT to actually make sure, all the people get their own identification for, it could be vaccine, it could be, their hospital records or something like that, since it is non-fungible. So I think it's still a relevant thing, and I would definitely love to see more incoming in the future.
I love it. Kenneth, back to you. So we've spoken about the reputation side of things. But Moca Network also sits at that intersection of identity and credentialing as well. And as agents become more autonomous, how do we make sure that the human behind the agent still owns their identity, but fundamentally stays in control?
Yeah, so we haven't really shared this yet, and Joseph, we should probably discuss about how we work together, because we're actually working with quite a bit of different companies have sharing the same vision on agent, and we're supporting them on having the full identity infrastructure for human and agents. And we have a product suite called Air AI, and what that does is basically having agent and human binding with cryptography. And with that binding, basically that set the relationship between the human and the agent, and allow the agent to act on behalf of the human. And it can be a one-to-many relationships, meaning one human can be binding to multiple agents, and agents can actually, after binding, can do two things. One is to move data, and second is to move money. And as you can imagine, if you delegate rights and authority for the agent to act on behalf of the human autonomously, it's very risky, right? Because the agent can do very wild stuff and potentially like spending all your money or exposing your data to everywhere, right? So we do have like a policy management module as well for human to sign and authorize the agent within that specific mandate. And that mandate could be, for example, spending up to X amount of dollars or up to a certain date, or not transacting whatever types of transactions. And also in terms of moving data, like you can also manage like what the agent has in terms of authority to verify and share your data to any kinds of companies or any kinds of agents or humans. And with that policy in control by the human and basically need to be cryptographically signed by the user, you're putting human in control, but giving guardrails to the agents to make sure it doesn't go crazy. So basically, it's that giving human full control, but also giving verifiable rights for the agents to move data and move money.
So as an example of that, I want to book a holiday and I have my agent do the work. So it will find the holiday for me. It will even make a reservation initially without paying because it holds my details and those details are safe and secure. And then it will come to me to be like, this is what I've booked, this is how much it costs. And then by me being the human in the loop, I then give it the okay, I sign that transaction, so to speak, and then it executes the transaction on my behalf. Is that the way we're thinking about the experience?
Yeah, so you basically bind the agent with your wallet, and then since then, basically the agent has the rights to spend X amount of dollars to book that. We actually, like, interestingly, we should have some showcase coming out. We're working with a travel company that has a lot of inventory with millions of merchants that the agent can actually browse through a lot of inventory and make that transactions with travel companies, and also making payment, that last mile payment for that booking as well. But as you can imagine, for that booking, you need your passenger information. It needs your, even like there's a lot of fraud. Actually, you would be surprised in the OTA and travel platform, and basically the agent can actually verify on behalf of the human that is a real person. So a lot of the things like that you don't need human in the loop to actually bother the users to be involved in the middle of the process.
Super fascinating. Like I'm super excited for when that goes live. I guess both of you as agent users, maybe share one of the agents that you're using that's bringing you the most value. And when I say value, not necessarily financial value, but it could be it saves you time or it does something that brings value to you. And Joseph,
I think I can begin from, yeah. So I think for me, for AIagent experience, I think one of the most crucial thing will be the reminder thing, because AIagent basically works as a secretary for me on a daily basis. I understand the fact that people think too much of AI and then they try to give a lot of tasks for the AI agents out there. It could be like help them to write thesis, could help them to like proposal. But to be honest, I think human beings are still better when it comes to like creating a proposal or documentations. If you have a right skill and right experiences, because you understand where the people actually clicks. But in the very far future, there won't be any human beings like talking to each other through documentation anymore. It will be just A to A. But at this moment, I prefer to use AI agent as my secretary. So it provides me a reminder. At the same time, it will provide me with daily reports saying that what are the major news going on in the crypto industry. What are the macros and the micros at the moment in Korea and United States. Those are the main things I'm using it. And to be honest, it is really great. However, the token price keep getting expensive every day. Now the subscription fee is also increasing at the same time. Sometimes I think like, it could be, cheaper and more efficient, cost effective for me to actually just search it up instead of using the AI. Sometimes it is kind of, you need more thing to do actually to use AI agent instead of doing it yourself.
Yeah, there is that. I've read different articles around like that tax element, which is either on time or on the price of tokens, normally on both. When it comes to that, super fascinating. What interface are you using? Is standard chat interface for you to interact with your agent?
So OpenClaw will be one of the things that I use, and Pieverse definitely one of the things I use. So Pieverse is very convenient because I could just plug into my like WhatsApp or Kakao. Kakao is the chatting application that we use normally in Korea. So that's the reason why I use Pieverse. But normally I would use OpenClaw on my Mac or other computers out there.
Fair. Kenneth, same question to you.
Yeah, I'm pretty crazy with my agents. I do a lot of like different things such as like trading, sports betting, stocks, and like hedging, perps, and all this stuff. But also having like booking restaurants, calling people, replicating my voice in Japanese. And sending money and all that, right? But recently I also built, because I saw that the team needs some help in terms of resourcing. So I actually built a platform to automate the end-to-end business development process for the team, to do auto outreach and optimization on updating CRM, retrieving CRM for contacts, and actually building proposals and term sheets. And having the end-to-end workflow. That's my opinionated view of harnessing models and basically surfacing multiple agents to many users and having a consistent workflow in a specific function. So that platform actually has like 7 to 8 agents that everyone can use with full access control and context management and agent memory management. But it's a little bit extreme, I would say. But it's been fun to build.
I think you showed it internally a couple of weeks back, and it was really impressive to see what had been built. So definitely excited to see more of that. I mean, like a key takeaway from me from this part of the conversation is that we're not just using agents for financial purposes, but also for productivity. And it's more the case of where you have a point of friction. That's where an agent is introduced to either alleviate that friction or to save time, which then enables other things to take place. I mean, I was lucky enough to be moderating a panel in Paris a couple of weeks back at Proof of Talk, and it was quite last minute. So I spun up one of our minds to actually research all of the different panelists. And the beauty of Moca Minds is each agent gets its own email address. So actually, once I'd spun up the agent, she has her own personality. Her name is Joanne. Her task was to research all of the panelists, come back with questions, but then also reach out to the panelists to organize like the pre-panel conversation that you have where everyone introduces themselves. And she did all of that end to end once I'd given her the initial prompts. So for me, that was super fascinating. She's actually been now promoted to my executive assistant. So I'm using her to help with managing. She surfaces because she has access to my emails. So in the morning, she surfaces all of the important things that I need to action. She's even once or twice responded to emails on my behalf, which were good to keep things moving because they were time sensitive, but I still don't know how I feel about an agent doing that unprompted. But it was super fascinating, at least in terms of my usage. And another one born out of necessity is when you're managing such a large team, there's always breaks in communication or things starting to happen in silos. So one of my agents acts as that communication layer where he has access to the call logs that we have from our daily stand-ups. So based on the communication that's happening there, and our agents are shareable because they're via email as well. So I just included that agent, his name is Paul, in an email chain with a number of my different colleagues, and then he's communicating, or he's acting as a communication layer between us to make sure that there's no information that's falling in between the cracks. So that's been another very interesting use case. That's maybe a not very conventional use case on my end. I mean, gents, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's like agents are definitely the future. We're not there yet, but there's a lot of progress coming. It's sort of the general feeling that I'm getting from this conversation. Any final words for the community or for the listeners listening in? Outside of let's use Pieverse, let's put credentials on Moca Network, and let's everyone use Minds.
I mean, to be honest, I just want to say to the public that, make sure that everyone out there uses the AI. Like, it is really important to actually go along with the flow right now. The whole world is changing very fast, rapidly due to the AI, adoption. But without, properly using them, you'll just left behind. And I don't want people to be left behind to the new future we're facing. And you'll be completely different than what we're witnessing right now. You'll be a life changing. And in order to match the scale, you have to become a person who understands the AI and how to use it.
So continue learning, continue practicing. Something I say all the time is failure doesn't exist. It's an opportunity for us to learn. So fail quickly, so to speak, and continue to iterate. So I resonate strongly with that. Guys, if you don't, I don't know if I can say this on air, but if you don't fuck around and find out, you'll never learn. So like we want to push that to the limits. Kenneth.
Yeah, I would say don't get too scared and just try and going into it, but also don't get lost in the void. Try to think a little bit more about 3 years forward, what's your role in this AI agentic world and how you can get ahead and be early in that, because it's going to change a lot faster than everyone would imagine. The early days, if you use AI, you still have an arbitrage to be smarter because intelligence can be bought and can be arbitrage. 3 years later, you need to think about it in a fully agentic, what kind of role do you play there? And we think a lot actually from our company point of view, and we decided to basically change our operating model completely to just to do that.
Just continuing to iterate, to improve, again, not be scared. I think there's a consistent theme here. Guys, if you've been listening in, it's a big thank you to Kenneth, big thank you to Joseph. I know it's super late where you guys are, so really appreciate you staying up late to talk about the agentic future, to talk about Mocaverse, Moca Proof, Pieverse, and of course, Moca Minds. Guys, any questions you have for us, please leave in the comments. But from our end, over and out. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, Mohamed.
No, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.